And then it all made sense. We traveled to another country for vacation, and one night while I slept, my parents packed up all theirs and my siblings' belongings and left, leaving me behind in the hotel all alone. When I woke up and found them gone, I went and spoke to the hotel staff and asked them for help. However, there was nothing they could do. My parents checked in under an alias and a fake phone number, effectively abandoning me there. I had no identification and no way to contact my family. Eventually, I was placed in an orphanage, and honestly, I fell into a bit of depression. Apparently, my parents left me because, in their eyes, my hobby wouldn't make them any money, which was all they cared about. They saw me as useless, so they left me at the hotel. Hi there. My name is Nancy, and I was born to a family that was awful. They just plainly sucked. My parents always just viewed me and my siblings as a means to become wealthy. I was the middle child, and I had an older brother, Tommy, and a younger sister, Carol. Sadly, my parents never even tried to hide what they expected of us, and the pressure from them was awful. They would constantly say that if we failed to live up to their expectations, that they would get rid of us. The pressure they put on us was almost too much to bear.
Hey, Nancy, your teacher told us about your grades slipping. We can't believe you would fail us like this. If you and your siblings don't get good grades, then you won't get good careers, and you won't get good salaries. How will you take care of us if you don't?
Sorry, Mom, I really tried.
Not hard enough. You really need to stop making excuses and stop being a complete loser.
I wish I could say that comparing our grades was the only way that our parents would push on us, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. They would also have us do all kinds of extracurricular activities in the hope of finding something that we were incredibly talented at. For my older brother, it was soccer, and he was actually really a skilled player. For my sister, she was always good at math and the sciences, which was always not enough for my parents. As for me, I was able to play any musical instrument very well. The problem was that my parents didn't see how that would ever make them rich, and music lessons were too expensive in their minds. It didn't help that I started talking back to them. I just couldn't help it. I just couldn't see why it was our responsibility to make them rich. Saying as much was the worst thing I could do, though.
Nancy, you need to find a much better hobby. We aren't going to pay money to have you keep playing games. Music is not going to make money for us anyways.
It doesn't have to be about money, though. Why can't I just learn to play music because it makes me happy?
Because we are paying for it, and we aren't going to pay for something that won't make us money.
Why does it have to make money? And what makes you think I'll share my money with you guys even if I did become rich?
If it doesn't make money, then it's a complete waste of time.
When they felt that we weren't living up to our potential, they would punish us. Sometimes it would be by hitting us, but at other times they would refuse to give us food until we showed that we had learned our lesson. While at other times they would just yell at us until we cried. It was just awful. By the time that I was 8, my parents started acting very odd towards me. They refused to hug me or give me any affection at all. And then it all made sense. We traveled to another country for vacation, and one night while I slept, my parents packed up all theirs and my siblings' belongings and left, leaving me behind in the hotel all alone. When I woke up and found them gone, I went and spoke to the hotel staff and asked them for help. However, there was nothing they could do. My parents checked in under an alias and a fake phone number, effectively abandoning me there. I had no identification and no way to contact my family. Eventually, I was placed in an orphanage, and honestly, I fell into a bit of depression. Apparently, my parents left me because, in their eyes, my hobby wouldn't make them any money, which was all they cared about. They saw me as useless, so they left me at the hotel. Granted, my family was a bit toxic, but I didn't know any other life. Being abandoned by them was crushing. It took nearly a year before the hurt and pain they caused finally began to lessen. As luck would have it, a young couple came to the orphanage and was looking at all of the children. In order to make the kids feel more comfortable, the man went and started playing a piano that we kept in the main recreation room. While he played, I snuck up and sat down next to him and joined in and started playing as a duo. I could tell that he very much enjoyed playing alongside me, and after we played several songs, he and his wife began to ask questions about me. When I told them how I arrived at the orphanage, they were heartbroken and they vowed to adopt me that very day. True to their word, they adopted me and brought me home with them. My new father, who was named Grant, played for an orchestra and taught music lessons to dozens of people, while my new mother, Tanya, was an opera singer. They both treated me with a great deal of respect and patience. It felt so odd to finally have parents that actually loved me, and over time, I grew to love them as if they were my true parents. I learned to play so many instruments from my father, and I developed my voice and was able to sing just as well as my mother as well. When I was old enough, my parents insisted that I attend college and earn a degree in music, which I did. It made it so much easier that they paid for it. After I graduated, I started participating in the operas and concerts that they participated in. It didn't take long for me to develop a name for myself, and people began to recognize my talent and know my name. Soon enough, I became an attraction, and I started having concerts of my own. Grant and Tanya couldn't have been more proud, and they encouraged me to take all the money I made and invest it so that I could enjoy the fruits of my labor. I tried to offer them money more than once as a way to pay them back for helping me develop my talents, but they always insisted that no repayment was necessary. We were a family, and that was just what families do. I was blown away with how amazing they were. But of course, the good times could only last for so long. After a few months, I began receiving letters from my biological parents. They had found out that I was a successful artist, and they wanted to know when they could come and see me. I knew instantly what they actually wanted. I was now making good money as a singer and as part of an orchestra, but I always just threw their letters away. There was no way that I was going to let those fools who abandoned me come back into my life. Then after a show one night, I saw them and found out the reason why they were suddenly back in my life.
Nancy, is that you? Oh wow, you've grown into such a beautiful woman.
Mom? Dad? Carol? What are you doing here?
Oh, we just came to see your show. You put on quite the performance.
Thanks. So why are you actually here?
It's because Tommy died, and they have no prospects on getting rich off of us.
I could tell that Carol was not at all interested in playing along with our parents' charade, and she told me that Tommy had been accepted into a college for a scholarship to play soccer, and it was looking like he was going to become a pro athlete and make a lot of money, which made our parents ecstatic. However, the pressure and stress got to him, and he turned to using drugs, and they eventually led to him overdosing and passing away. As for Carol, she tried her best but was never able to do well in college. She eventually graduated and even became a teacher, but that was never good enough for our parents. I told her all about my adopted parents, and she genuinely seemed happy for me. It broke my heart to know that she had been forced to live all those years with our parents while I was able to have a much better life with my adoptive parents. Once I had learned more about what had happened in the time that I was away from them, my parents began to get upset.
Carol, how dare you speak so ill of us and your brother? He was killed. He would never do drugs.
No, Mom. The stress from the pressure that you put on all of us combined with the amount of abuse we endured from you two was what drove him to drugs and eventually to his death. His blood is on your hands. Isn't it shocking that the only successful child of yours is the one that you abandoned and wasn't forced to live with you for the majority of their life?
That's enough, Carol.
And with that, our father slapped Carol really hard enough that she was knocked unconscious. I screamed for security, and they were surrounding my parents within seconds. Seeing these people made my father furious, and he began lashing out at them, which was as a terrible idea. The second that he showed aggression towards them, they quickly took him down and started punching and kicking him. Even my mother started to fight with them, and she was quickly knocked out and dragged away. I could only imagine how bad they both felt when they eventually woke up. After that, Carol and I reconnected, and we both realized that our parents were the worst. Carol had never made it rich, but she was a great teacher and she loved her job as well. In my opinion, she had done really well for herself, and I was proud of who she had become. My parents disagreed, of course, and they saw her as a loser. As for me, they determined that since they were my biological parents, that they were entitled to some of the wealth that I was beginning to generate, and they went to a lawyer to sue me for my money. Grant and Tanya paid for a much better lawyer, and without much effort, the lawsuit was easily dismissed. This enraged my parents, who felt that they were entitled to my money in spite of their discarding me when I was young. They still felt that I owed them and would often harass me outside my home or after a concert.
Hey, Nancy, come on. We aren't asking for much. Just give us enough money to take care of us. It doesn't matter who adopted you later. Deep down inside, you know that we are your real parents, and you owe us.
I don't owe you a damn thing. You and Mom were horrible people when I was a child, and you're horrible people now. That set my father off and he lunged at me. However, I was no longer a defenseless 8-year-old girl. I was now a fully functional adult woman, and as he lunged towards me, I grabbed the nearest thing, which just so happened to be a violin, and I smashed it over my father's head. He went down like a sack of potatoes and was knocked out. My mother eyed me down, but was smart enough not to attack me and instead dragged my father away. Days later, they tried to have me arrested for assault, but I had many witnesses that confirmed that it was done in self-defense. The real kick was that my father suffered permanent brain damage from where I hit him and would need around-the-clock nurse care. To add salt to the wound, I had my lawyer file a lawsuit against my parents for the amount that the violin was worth. They had forced me to defend myself, and they ended up having to pay the $30,000 that the violin was worth. The day after the settlement was announced, Carol called me up and congratulated me on the victory against our parents. I am happy to say that I have since developed a good and healthy relationship with my sister, and she gets along with Grant and Tanya extremely well. They've even joked about unofficially adopting her as well. She even comes to many of my shows to support me and truly enjoys the music that I produce. It's been great, and my career is only just taking off. As for my parents, I have heard they are really struggling. Losing both the lawsuit they filed against me for my money and the lawsuit I filed to cover the cost of the violin I destroyed while defending myself from them has taken a heavy toll on their finances, to the extent that they had to sell their house. On top of that, my father's brain damage, which sometimes makes him act abnormally, has made things worse. My mom can't work full-time because she has to take care of him. She cooks for a school and rushes home every day to care for my dad, and now they both live in a tiny house. They were forced to declare bankruptcy, and instead of becoming rich from their children's achievements, they became poor because they drove their children away. Honestly, I don't feel any sympathy for them. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below saying, "I subscribed," and we'll try our best to reply to your comment.